listening to The Motherhood Experience, a podcast where you are part of the conversation with moms, for moms, and by moms. Let's jump into this episode with me, your host, Val Kleppen. Well, hello. Welcome back to another episode of the Motherhood Experience podcast. I'm your host, Val, and I am delighted to introduce you today to Winter Hendrickson. Winter is the mother of 7, 5 adopted, 2 biological children. She has a multicultural family and a multi-fascinating story. You are not going to believe how nonchalantly and casually she brings up some of these amazing, fantastic details of her motherhood journey. I'm excited for you to hear it today. Before we get to that, though, I would just like to remind you, ask you, beg you to like, share, subscribe every time you interact, especially when it's a comment or a share, a like button, anything on any of our posts, whether it's the episode itself from where you stream the podcast or whether it's on our Facebook or Instagram or YouTube channel. It helps us tremendously. Every time we are interacted with, it tells the algorithm that we are worth someone's time. And then it pushes us out in front of more people, in front of more moms who need encouragement, who need a break, who need some entertainment in their day. They come across us because of you taking the time to click that little button. So if you would do so now, I would appreciate it greatly. And thank you to those of you who are so interactive with the podcast. Plus, it's just so much more fun for me to see and interact with you through those channels as well. So thank you so much for doing that. Really excited to introduce you to Winter Hendrickson. You may remember her sister, Jessica McKinley, from a previous episode. And after listening to this episode, if you are thinking you need to get in touch with Winter, you need to hear what she has to say, use her as a resource or whatever the case, I have linked her Instagram in the show notes as well. So be sure to say hello to her. And now into the episode. All right. I am joined by Winter Hendrickson, Jessica McKinley's sister. If you listened to Jessica's episode way back when, Winter, how are you?
I am doing good. Thank you for letting me be on the Motherhood Experience.
Absolutely. I'm excited. I know only parts and snippets of your story. I'm excited to have you fill in the gaps for us tonight. Let me start by asking you ages of kids and stage of motherhood you're in.
I am a mother of 7, and I have kids all over the map. So this could probably be a whole podcast talking about that. But I'll try to be brief about it. So I have a 22-year-old boy. His name is Augustine, and he actually just purchased his first home this last week.
Wow.
And he is amazing. He's a catch. She's looking for a wife. I hope we can find one soon. And then I have a 17-year-old boy, and then he is a junior in high school. His name's Nave. And then I have a just freshly 16-year-old daughter named Say, and she's lovely. She's a sophomore. And then I have a freshman, a 14-year-old boy named Gabriel. So I have 3 kids graduating 3 years in a row, so 3 teenagers. And then I have a firecracker of a daughter who is almost 12 years old this month. Right before Christmas, she turns 12. And then we have a 2-year-old little boy named Roger. Oh, and then my 12-year-old daughter's name's Genesis. And then I have a 2-year-old little boy named Roger. And then we have a little girl who is 2 months old named Milagro, who we call Mila, who we love so much. She's so sweet too. So, and that is us. There's a lot of us. So interestingly thing about us is like the older ones, so the 5 older ones are adopted. And then the 2 younger ones, I miraculously, after years and years of infertility, gave birth to them naturally. So
okay.
They're my biological children.
So let me ask you, you and your husband get married. Do you start talking about a family right away? Is it something that you want to wait to start? How did that unfold?
When we got married, we actually we knew each other for a long time before we got married, but we did a lot of missions work in Ukraine before we got married and even afterwards. And we did like orphanage work. And so we always talked about adopting children, and he actually wanted to adopt children when he was single. Like I remember him saying like, if I'm still single at 30, like I want to adopt kids. And I was like, that's very attractive to me. I don't know, like that's like something that attracted me to him, that he really wanted to adopt kids. And then about a year into marriage, we started doing foster care classes because we wanted to adopt kids. And then we also started trying to have kids biologically at the same time. Whatever one came first, because we knew we wanted to do both. But then about a couple years into trying, we knew something was wrong. And I found out I was through a surgery. I was diagnosed with endometriosis, and he was also had some male factor things. And so we were told we could never have children biologically. And we already had our boys, Augustine and May, at the time. And it really didn't like affect me in the way that you would think. I was just super thankful that we had our boys.
Hmm.
And so it's sad, but like also at the same time, I was like, God had us in the right spot at the right time, I feel like. So we always wanted to adopt. We always wanted kids, but maybe not 7 kids, but we always wanted to have kids. I never thought in a million years we'd have 7 children. It's wild. So
Okay, now I feel like we kind of blew through that really fast. So,
it's a lot. It's a lot to unpack
right,
there. Yeah.
right. So I'm going to rewind just a little bit. You were you had started the process for adopting. In that time, you received the medical diagnosis telling you you're never going to have children biologically.
Right. Yeah, we started the process through the foster care system. And the foster care system, like you start fostering children, and then if they become adoptable, you can adopt them. Like if they happenstantially don't go back to their parents for a series of unfortunate events, then they can get up for adoption. You can adopt them. And so we were in that process with our boys when I found out I could not have children. Yeah.
Okay, and also when you're sharing the names of your children, your older children, those are not names you hear every day.
Yes, yes, it's true. Because yeah, we are a multicultural family, a multiracial family. Our 3 oldest children are Korean refugees from Myanmar. The refugees, all 3 of them were born in Thailand, and they moved to the United States when they were really young. And then our next 2 children, they're Bible names, Genesis and Gabriel, but they're actually Native American children. And those 5 children, we actually we didn't pick any of their names. Their biological families picked their names. We just kept it for their own sake. 'Cause they were a little older when they were all adopted, so it just made sense. So.
Wow. Okay. So then, Winter, my head is spinning.
I know.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
No. This is amazing. Okay. So how did the adoptions? What am I trying to ask here? Even, I guess, like, were they seamless? Were there hiccups, complications? How was the process of adopting 5 children?
It's very complicated, like adoption is. And, the reason why adoption exists is horrific, but adoption is absolutely beautiful in every way. So there's situations that happen, foster care, like it takes a lot to get your kids removed. And um, all of them were awful, like all the situations that our children have been through. And like they were really stressful. And we actually had intended to adopt multiple other children through the foster care system, and those adoptions like failed. So it's not always like it feels really beautiful on this side of things, but it's really a hard process. Foster parents are amazing. We were foster parents for a whole decade, actually 11 years. We did it for 11 years, which I'm glad we did, because that's when our 16-year-old daughter came to us anyways. So I'm glad we waited another year. But like foster parents are amazing because it's really hard, and it's not for everyone, I would say, but it's definitely like worth it in the sense for the children and stuff. So our adoption stories are kind of wild. So, but we're super thankful because our older boys especially they just made us look like rock star parents because they're such good boys. we could have wrote a book about parenting, but then we had a bunch of other kids, and now we know nothing. So
Okay. So another question too, because a lot of American households, especially 2.3, 2.4 children, whatever the average is, it's not many. So you adopted 5.
yeah,
And
yeah.
so what kind of happened, or were you just like, as many as the Lord gives us, we'll make it work? Or what was the story there?
It feels complicated. I just couldn't say no. No, I'm just kidding. Well, we had, Augustine and May are brothers, our older 2. So they came as a pair. And then 4 years later, Genesis and Gabriel, we adopted them. So we had four for about like 4 years. So we were a family of six for so long. Um, and we were in process to adopt from China as well. So we always knew we wanted to add one more child to our family. And then we miraculously got pregnant with baby Roger, which is the most wildest story in the whole wide world after all these years of infertility. And when I was pregnant with Roger, that's when we got a call from the Department of Social Services asking if we wanted to take in a 13-year-old girl who was Korean. And we we weren't like, it was a weird situation because typically we wouldn't take teenagers in and we wouldn't go out of birth order with foster care, and she would have been in between some of the kids. And but we, both of us, and it was 2 months before giving birth to Roger, so I was like very pregnant taking in a 13-year-old girl. And both of us were like, this feels right, me and Chad both. And we said yes to her, and she's never left. So, and she's the most lovely, beautiful teenager. Like, she just fits perfectly into our family. It's just such a bizarre situation because it was, I mean, like all of our children are like a little bit older when we took them into foster care, so they're like high risk situations, and we're just really thankful that we're able to just create this family. It's weird, it's messy, we all have some issues, but we're really lucky and blessed that we can have this family unit that does function well together, because I know that like not everybody has that story. And then of course Milagro came along, another surprise, which we should know how these things work now.
Okay.
But yeah.
I
So it just happens.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so I did not know that at all. That is fascinating to me.
Yeah.
And let's back up to Roger then.
Yeah.
When you became pregnant, did you know or have any inkling, or were you like, what is wrong with me? I know I can't be pregnant because I was told I would never have children.
Hmm. Well, it's kind of like a crazy God story. There's like a whole bunch of like swirl of beautiful things, that story behind it. Um, but how do I want to share the story? How long do you
I,
have here? um,
Winter, we have like we can break this into
we got
7
time.
parts if we have to.
Okay.
I really want to hear this.
Okay, so let me just say this. Like, Roger is a complete miracle in the sense that God healed me. Like, I know for sure. Because, like, me and Chad for 11 years, we were, um, you know, actively trying to have a child, but never conceived naturally. And 1 year exactly to the due date before Roger was born, we were in a prayer meeting with our friends. And this is kind of a wild story. It might not fit your theology. So like, I'm just going to tell you to buckle up for a second. So it's okay. It is okay to have weird stories that don't fit our theology. But our really super good friend that we've known for like a few decades, she came up to me and she said, Winter, I feel like you're overdue. And I was like, thinking in my head, like, overdue to go on the mission field, because we love missions. Like, we love traveling all over the world. Like, we have like the 1040 window on our house, on our hearts, on reach people groups, all that stuff. And so they had everybody in the room from her saying that, like, lay hands on me and pray for me that I would not be, I would give birth basically spiritually. Everyone thought it was spiritual. And there's this guy in the room that said, actually told Chad, like, you need to speak over Winter that her water would break. And so he did that. And it was just like this, like, but like the presence of God came into the room, and I felt Jesus so strongly, like so strong that I felt like from that moment, I quit my job the next day. I went in and I put my notice in, and then within a few months I was done with my job. And then that was, and then 1 year later, like, that was the day that Roger was born. And like, when we actually, like, when we found out I was pregnant, it was like the day after, you miss your period. That's how you know you're pregnant, right? Because I was very regular. The day I took the test, I actually texted Chad, because people should call their husband when they have this information. I actually texted him because I still have the text. I said, like, I think I'm pregnant, and I showed him the test on the text, and he said, I thought it was a spiritual baby. That's what he texted back, because we were both just like, amazed, like this is not happening because that doesn't happen to us, and because we don't have babies, and it was very terrifying because I've never been pregnant, like, and it was quite the experience from the perspective of I've been a mom for like 10 years, like I've raised kids, I love my kids, but like experiencing it from the pregnancy perspective was just absolutely wild too. Like thinking about my adopted children, and then baby Roger being born. And so it's completely your life transforming. So Roger is our spiritual baby that's a real baby. So
Oh my goodness. Okay.
yeah.
Every time I think I know what I'm going to ask you, and then I hear what you say, and it's just like 47 more questions pop into my mind. So I remember when Roger was born, because we were having we call it October feast, and we were having our
Mhm.
October feast here at the house, and your sister and her family were planning on coming, and then I get this message
And they had to
that's like,
cancel.
"Hey, we're not coming because Winter's having the baby," and I was like, "Of all the days." She could have had him. No, it was so great because we were just praying and praying for you. So
Yeah.
what was the dynamic in your household then after Roger came home? Because
Mhm.
it's adopted children
Yeah.
to this point, they're older. How did the
Hmm.
dynamic change? What was it like?
Right. Because there is like a 10-year age gap between my youngest and Roger, and then a 20-year age gap from my oldest to Roger. So that's quite the age gap. And then Milagro, it's even bigger. It's 22 and 12. So it was so good. Like honestly, like the big kids are so helpful, and they all love the baby so much. And like I think that them like seeing a child loved in the way a child should be was like healing. It was healing for all of us. It was eye opening for all of us. He might be a bit spoiled, but because he has a lot of people in his life that super super love him, um, and super super care about him, and they all want him to be the most emotionally healthy human there ever was, because we all understand what those early childhood development years can do to you if you don't get the attention that you need. So, anyways, he's everyone loves him. He's lovely. It's hard to homeschool though, I'm not gonna lie, but he's a doll.
Okay, so yeah, let's
Yeah.
let's go in. Wait, before remind me. Let's come back to homeschool. Let's come
Okay.
back to that. I'm still stuck back in missions and Ukraine. Okay,
Yes.
so obviously you have a heart for what is going on there. I want to know, how many languages
Hmm.
do you speak?
Oh man, I speak some Russian, and I desperately wanted to speak Spanish, but I'm terrible at it. I literally study Spanish every day, and I'm still awful at it. So, but only I guess I only speak English. I speak some Russian because of Ukraine,
Can you
but we do travel a lot.
can you
Yeah, I understand.
understand
Like,
Spanish even though you can't speak it well?
yeah, definitely depends on who's speaking. Sometimes they talk very, very, very
Sure.
fast, and they have like different accents. Every country in the Spanish world is so unique, and like they say really weird things. It's really hard sometimes.
Yeah.
So I'm learning traditional Spanish from Spain, but I do love Spanish culture, and I love Spanish food. It's really good.
Okay. So I want to touch more on that though. Like with all the traveling, I know there's a story of you taking baby Roger on a mission trip.
Yeah,
Like
I
what,
did.
but even before him, and I want you to tell that story, but even before him, like
Hmm.
how did you work, I guess, foreign missions into your life
Hmm.
when your house is also a mission field?
Yeah, I think it's like both. Like, and like you just do both, and like I it's really hard because we always felt like me and Chad both felt like we were going to be like full-time missionaries, like since I was a Christian, like at 15 years old, like, and him too, like since he was a little boy, he's like he played Risk, and he was like he felt like God was calling him to the whole world, the nations, and like and like we hear these messages about like selling everything and like
Mm-hmm.
going to the nations, and we're like let's go, but we're like in this place where God's saying like you're actually like you need to say yes to being here, but I'll let you go so that you can experience it and like and I've seen benefit in that. I've seen the ability to help other people get into missions. And right now, like we are super hyper focused obviously on the 1040 window, like I told you, and going to unreached people groups, and recently have been going into the Muslim world. And so I haven't posted many pictures of those places because we can't necessarily talk about them online because they like protect workers and stuff. But yes, baby Roger has gone to the Middle East multiple times, so
And
it's very
what
cool.
is, I mean, he may not remember it, obviously, but like,
No, but we do.
right. And what is the response when
Oh my
this white
goodness.
girl's walking around with this adorable little baby boy?
I know. I know. He was 6 months old, and we went to this particular country that loves babies so much. And we'd be in a restaurant, and they just like pass baby Roger all around. It just was wild. Like, and the men in this country actually loved the babies more almost than the women did. I don't know. And it was just like he would open doors to people all over, everywhere. Like, we still have people that I've met in different countries that I'm still Facebook friends with, and they're like watching Baby Roger grow up. Like, they just love him so much, like because he's really
Oh my
cute.
word.
He was a really, really chunky little white fat baby at 6 months old when we were doing it. It was really cute.
And so what is the view of missions that your older kids have?
Yeah, all of my kids have gone on mission trips, and they all love it. Actually, our all of our current kids have been back to Thailand, and Nay has been back twice. And actually, this year, every person in our family has gone on a mission trip. And if we can't do an overseas trip, some of our younger ones, we go to to like a neighboring town, a neighboring city, and we go to like the homeless shelter and we stay there and we help. And I just really think it's important to teach our children about the world and about things outside of ourselves, and also to serve. And it really like expands like who you are. It actually expands your prayer life, expands your relationship with the Lord. There's so many benefits, and it helps the people that is there also. So it's multifaceted for sure. So we always say neighborhoods and nations.
Yeah.
It's kind of like our slogan at our church, but also like for our own family.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
explain for everyone the significance of the 1040 window. There are people who have never heard of that
Oh,
before.
sure. Yeah, so the 1040 window is like the longitude, latitude 10 and between 10 and 40, and this is where the most unreached people of the earth live. And so it's like northern Africa, most of the Middle East, and then like Southeast Asia there. And yeah, so like I think like um there's like 3 billion people that never heard of the name of Jesus in this area of the world. And from the encounter where everyone said, the spiritual baby prayer thing when baby Roger came to life kind of thing, that's when we decided like that's when we are going to go into the Middle East more. So
Wow.
yeah, just going.
Wow.
And it's typically more risky, and typically it's like Muslim nations, Buddhist nations, maybe a little bit of China is like the non-religious nation, stuff like that.
Okay, backtracking again. I'm all
Yeah.
over the place, but this is great. When your kids went to Thailand, and
Yeah.
like, what was that like for them? Was it, did it provide some sense of closure for them? Was it exciting? Was it all of the things? Tell me about that.
Yeah, the first time we went to Thailand was actually in, I think it was March of 2020. So literally like a few days before the world shut down, like we got like the last flight into the United States or something crazy. Like, and people didn't want to touch us because we came from Asia, but because of the coronavirus, of course. But yeah, the boys, like it was Nay and Augustine. I don't know if Nay remembered it as much because he was, 12. He played in the dirt a lot. Like, I don't know. He was really young. But Augustine just came alive. The food was like crazy for him. Just loved it so much. He thought it was amazing. And we got to minister in Korean refugee village, like in Korean like refugee villages. So that was really super special for him. Yeah, it definitely opened him up to like where he was before. like and what his life could have been, which is kind of wild. Like, and then this last summer, that's when Nay and CK and Chad the dad, we call him Chad the dad, my husband, he they all went to Thailand again, and they had just, it was just so phenomenal for all of them. And CK actually, like her citizenship, she's actually still considered just like a refugee, so she doesn't, she's like a permanent resident. So anyways, that she got to go was kind of a miracle too, because she had to get this like quasi passport thing. It was kind of a mess, but she was just super thankful to be there. And it was amazing seeing these kids being able to go back to like where they were born and experience it. It's like a heritage trip on top of a mission trip, on top of this full connection circle moment for them to be able to do that kind of stuff, which is amazing. And I don't know, like God provided all the finances for it, because we're not rich at all, but like we just value certain things.
Wow. So now I'm remembering I want to go back to homeschooling.
Yeah.
But is it kind of an eclectic education system in your home? Tell me about this.
Yes, our schooling experience is kind of wild. So we have two kids in public school and two kids that we homeschool. Um, and our style of homeschool is all over the map. I would probably say eclectic, but it's a cross between traditional and maybe classical, and maybe, I don't know, we like to read. I don't know, that kind of stuff. I think that everybody has their own fit. We actually have a really great community of homeschool moms here. The most unusual, tight knit community. There's like next to no drama ever. Like maybe our kids would like kind of like spat at each other, but other than that, we never have any drama between us moms, and it's a really great experience. So I homeschool Genesis, who's 12, and then I also homeschool Nay, who is 17. So, and then we also have the little ones at home. So it's like there's not like it's a bit of a mess, honestly.
Yeah,
This is our third year homeschooling, so I'm still relatively new to the processes of it, but I love it. I believe in homeschooling. I'm not like pulling them out of school to like shelter them to keep them from it, although there is benefits to that, I would say. But like I believe in like the education of homeschool. I feel like it's a better education, to be honest with you. So
yeah.
yeah. Although my other kids are doing great in public school, so I don't know. They have straight A's and they're super smart.
Yeah.
So I don't
Well,
know.
I mean, there are several families, even on this guest on this podcast, who is the same. You know,
Yeah.
it's different depending on the child. You know, I've got some
Yeah.
former homeschoolers, some former public schoolers, some, yeah, I mean, every style and everything in between, I feel like. So it is different household to household. I do remember the days of homeschooling with with little kids. Um,
I know.
so
The
yeah,
crybaby
I
is
I
sometimes
feel
just
you there. And so when you got okay, no, let me start with Roger again. When
yeah.
you delivered Roger, did
Yeah.
you feel like, you know, this was a miracle? We're so grateful for this. Thank you, Lord, for this one. Did you think it was like a one and done miracle situation?
Oh, yes. Most definitely. We thought Roger was it. Yeah. We didn't think we could get pregnant again.
And
Well, slightly. I mean, I kind of hoped. I really liked the experience. I hated being pregnant. Pregnancy is really hard. But, and I feel so ungrateful for saying that, because I understand infertility is real, like, and I had it, like, but being pregnant's not for the faint of heart. I love giving birth. I loved having Roger. I wanted to have that experience again. So I'm really thankful that we got to do that
okay,
together.
now
That was really special.
wait a minute. Because when I was pregnant for the first time with our oldest, I can't remember the website, but it's something I can't remember. But anyway, they had videos of each different kind of birth. They had a natural delivery, an epidural, vaginal
Hmm.
delivery, and a cesarean delivery. They had videos of these that you could watch.
Yes.
And I watched
Hmm.
all three videos when I was like, I don't know, 6 or 7 months pregnant. And I walked down to the basement where my husband was sobbing and saying, I just want to be pregnant forever. I do not want to deliver this baby because they all look terrible. So
Yeah.
your situation is completely opposite, where you were like, I don't want to be pregnant, but I want to deliver again.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. I think that like okay, so I was raised slightly feminist as all American little girls are, right? And for some reason, giving birth was probably one of the most empowering experiences as a female that I feel like you could have. I don't know. It's just something about it made me feel so empowered. And I had like a really great group of friends that encouraged having a natural birth. I know it's not for everyone, but like I had all these years of infertility. I wanted to experience what labor was about. I wanted to see what my body could do. And I had a doula and like we learned some stuff. I watched all those videos and actually every single time anytime the baby's born, I would just stop hysterically because that's so beautiful. It doesn't matter how they're born, but like I just the baby coming out is like there's a soul that has been birthed. That's just wild, right? I just I felt so empowered. I thought it was amazing. I had a really great natural birth, my first pregnancy, and my with Roger and with Milagro as well. So it was incredible, like super empowered. I don't know. It's really weird to say that, but like, but pregnancy, ugh, like no, like,
I
like I literally puked for like 12 weeks straight. It was awful.
yeah,
Like having the flu. Like who wants that?
I
Like
know.
it's awful. And then you have like zero energy, all these weird symptoms. Then you have like you feel like a dragon heartburn, and then you're mean. I don't want to be mean anymore. So
Yeah. Yeah, the meanness never went away from me, but
yeah, it's true.
so
It's true. I haven't slept, so yes,
just
it's true.
like the holiday season has kind of, we're in the thick of it. And when I was
Yeah,
pregnant, I could not eat chicken or turkey.
yeah,
I no
that's sad.
matter, and I love me some chicken, but I
Yeah.
couldn't eat poultry basically when I was pregnant. It would make me gag. And I remember the morning sickness, and like each pregnancy, it was longer than the last. And the
Hmm.
sciatica when I couldn't walk without
Yeah.
pain. And
You couldn't walk.
yeah.
Yeah, who wants that,
So,
right?
but I still, even with all of that, I still loved being pregnant. I loved watching my belly move. I
Sure.
loved
Yeah.
feeling the flutters and the kicks, and feeling baby respond to me and respond to my husband, and eating ice cream without having to validate any
Yeah.
reason, just because I wanted it. But like,
It does help with heartburn though, so that's
yeah,
you have to do it.
yeah. And
Yeah.
the hormone situation, we're still trying to figure that out all these years later. My oldest is 14 now, but I do know, like, I know what you're talking about to
Yeah.
to a degree. So Haley and Heston were both cesarean, and when I delivered Harlan, she was my only vaginal birth.
Oh wow. Yeah.
And so, but none of them were natural. So like, I I guess I can understand how after so many years of infertility, you would be like, no, I want to experience every raw and real thing that happens in this, especially if you only
Yeah.
thought it was going to happen one time.
Right. Yeah, especially since I knew that like this could be my only shot. And I was a little older. I was 34 when Roger was born, and now I'm 36, geriatric, you know. That's what they say.
Yeah.
So,
Don't
I
believe everything you
understand,
hear.
but that's I know, right? I have a good support group. Everyone's having babies around here. So, yeah, I don't know why. I still think even if I ended up, having a C-section or something, I would still feel like it's the most magical experience ever. Like having a baby, like a fresh baby. I don't know. Just like there's something about it that was just like they're so sweet, they're so innocent. I don't know. It was amazing that your body did that.
And
It's still amazing.
it's
Like it's
incredible.
incredible.
And
Yeah.
that, like, your body was created to do this.
To
What
to like form a baby and all that stuff. It's amazing. It's
Well,
all a miracle.
it is. It's a miracle that any of us are here, honestly.
Yeah,
Um,
truly.
what what was the transition then to mothering a newborn? Because you didn't
Yeah.
have that with your adopted kids.
Yeah. Honestly, like there were some nights I would just like weep and weep that I didn't get to do this for them.
Mm.
Like to love them in this way. And like also like I think about their birth moms often, like more than ever. And I have extraordinarily amount of compassion for them and like what they've been through, having to have lost their children, basically because of having that newborn. And the idea of that newborn being ripped out of my hands would be like I would claw your eyes out. You know, like that's my baby. Like that's my little guy. Like I love him so much. Although it was really hard and I was slapped in the face with like newborn postpartum life with Roger. This time it was significantly easier, but postpartum life is absolute no joke. Like I just remember being up in the middle of the night in a diaper, like trying to nurse my newborn and being like, what happened? Like I don't even recognize myself anymore. Like who is this person nursing this? I don't know. It was a lot to process, but the hormones too. It's like the best of times, worst of times. That's all good things are, I
Mm.
suppose.
Mm.
It's very sweet though. Everyone like Roger is just sweet, and Milagro is like significantly easier. She sleeps significantly better than Roger did. So I think just I don't know if like she's more chill or if I'm more chill or somewhere in between. Like we're just figuring
Did
it
you
out.
did you crave different foods with each pregnancy? Was it different from the other?
Um, a little bit. I just ate a lot of food though, but ice cream for sure. Roger, I like lemonade. I don't know. I just pregnancy food just isn't as I don't know. You just eat what you want, right? But like I just felt like food didn't taste as good as it does when you're not pregnant.
Mm.
You can drink more coffee when you're not pregnant. I really didn't love pregnancy. I think I would have so many babies if I didn't have to be pregnant. I don't know.
Oh, that's so funny. And
Yeah.
how do your adopted kids feel about one day having families of their own? Is it something that they're a little timid about?
I hope to have a million grandkids. So I really want them all to go out and have families. We talk about that often, and you know they're teenagers and preteens, and so my oldest wants to have children as well, and most of them actually do want to adopt, which is really interesting. So I'm glad for that actually. Um, yeah, they're all open to having children. I don't think they all want 7 children, but I never wanted that many either. So maybe I'll just get, I think I do think that they'll surprise me in who's going to have the most children. I think it'll be a surprise, but
Yeah.
and who will get married first. But they're all so incredibly different. All of them are.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So your motherhood journey was so different from probably what you expected or anticipated it to be.
yeah,
What are some of the things that you have learned that you're just so grateful for experiencing?
yeah. I do think that like I'm really glad that God put adoption in our hearts before we found out about infertility, because I think that it would have been difficult to navigate that. Me and Chad have an amazing marriage, like, and it's changed. It changed when we adopted. It changed after we had biological children. It's ever forming. Almost 15 years of marriage. But I'm really super thankful that God led us to the journey that we're on and how it came to be. Because He's so gracious. Because I think that it would have been really difficult to have had that diagnosis without the Lord. Like, who knows where my headspace would have been? And I felt like there's a lot of grace to walk through infertility and walk through adoption with infertility, with that stigma, so to speak, really, really well. And yeah, and with all my adopted children, like I always like I never really call them my adopted children my children, but in this case I have to. I always feel like so like grateful because I really could have missed every single moment I had with them. Like if I wasn't like willing to say yes to like some of the big scary questions and issues. I mean, even having a child biologically, there's big scary questions and issues that could happen. So like a lot of it's like I could have missed this and like to enjoy it. And also self-care is really good and having friends is really good.
Yeah.
That's important.
Yeah. And
Part of a
I,
motherhood.
I
Yeah.
mean, on one hand, I suspect that you never feel alone because you have people in your space all the time. But on the
Yeah.
other hand, was it ever isolating to have this experience that was so different from everyone else's? And was there anyone that you could really relate with or talk to about it?
Yeah, I've always been like so incredibly like blessed to have so many amazing friends from all different like walks of life. And our friend group right now is amazing. I actually have a really close friend that has four adopted children that are like mostly all teenage age and one preteen as well. So we have like that kind of thing. I do think it's sometimes isolating having so many children, and you'd think that you wouldn't feel alone, but really children like aren't, they are people, but they're different. Like your children are different type of people. Like sometimes you want to be around people that talk to you like differently than you would a child,
Yeah.
So adult conversation, even though they're teenagers. I love teenagers, but yeah. So it's like yes and no. It's isolating, but it's not isolating. I just have such a great friend group, and I have a great support. Like my parents like always like embraced our kids as their own grandchildren. Like and Chad's parents as well. And of course, my sister, like, she's the best. She's Annie Ta, like, forever. Like, and she, like, invites them to the farm. I mean, like, we really have, like, the best support system
Yeah.
possible.
How
Yeah.
how do you find the struggle, or maybe it isn't a struggle? You tell me, with being protective, like of sensitive information or
Hmm.
situations or something that come up in your household, while still being transparent in seeking that support and that camaraderie with
Yeah.
others.
Yeah. Yeah. That is hard. So, as people know, like, when kids have been abused, like, trauma is real. And, like, I feel like that word is thrown around so often in right now's culture, and it's kind of been given a bad name,
Mm,
but it actually is real. And um, it causes kids to behave and people to behave a certain way. And if you don't understand that, I think it's sometimes really easy to judge people and their behaviors as something that it's not, as if that makes sense. And so where was I going with this? Yeah, I I have had friends that don't really understand, and honestly, like, I get that they don't understand. Like, that, how would they understand? They've never experienced that before. And then I have friends that have adopted that we just have like a really great understanding and a dark sense of humor. Like, I remember like recently we were at like a family gathering, and somebody was joking like, "Oh, you're gonna need therapy, Chad, about that someday." And he's like, "Oh, don't worry, I've been in therapy for years, like, because we have like our family, everyone in our family goes to therapy, so it's just where we're at because we need it and we want to be the best versions of ourselves, and we we are definitely not there yet.
yeah.
So
When
yeah, we have Christian counselors in our life, so to help us
yes,
for sure.
yes. And
Yeah.
when you started this journey, do you feel like you headed into it with realistic expectations, or were there some really hard lessons once you got rolling?
Yeah, lots of unrealistic expectations. Yes. um, Adoption, it just looks so beautiful on the outside. If you look on YouTube and you watch like all those adoption videos, like they still make me cry. It's like giving birth, like it's really beautiful. Like I cry at those as well. I must cry at all the videos, but but like they don't like kids just need more than just like a fluffy feel good environment kind of vibe thing, like they need discipline, they need routines, they need care, they sometimes need you need to sit there when things are really chaotic and like big emotions come up, and sometimes they need to eat like lots of food like in that moment or something like that because it's scary, it's a scary moment, or just different things. And like it's we're still learning. We've read tons and tons of books, since the books don't work, we always say, but they sometimes work, so we keep reading the books. And we're learning, and like me 12 years ago would have has had no idea anything about that kind of stuff. But luckily, we stuck with it, and we learned lots of things. We've learned through from our counselors. Obviously, books help us to to figure out how to help children that have extreme abuse and neglect situations.
Mm.
So, and parenting them and how to do it and how to help them set up for success.
And
Yeah.
so when you hear of others who are interested in adoption or say that they want to pursue adoption, do you have
Yeah.
like initially you're like, well, you maybe you think you do, but do you know this? Or is it like,
Yeah.
I'm totally all in with you. Do you understand? How do you approach
Yeah.
it when others approach you about adoption?
I think it just depends on the
Mm,
person. I do think it's obviously worth it because like I love my kids like so much and they like we have this great thing, but and I think that the biggest thing that I would probably give people advice is it can't be about you. Otherwise it's going to be really yucky fast. Because it's harder than you think, but it's better than you think too. So like it's both. I think okay, so the best advice for someone going into it is our counselor tells us this a lot. It's like not putting your value as a parent in the behavior of your children. Um, don't put value in yourself. Like you can't validate yourself by how your children behave. And I think that is probably a parenting role for everybody
yeah.
because like if they're doing really good, like that's great, but like that can be a pat on the back for you. But what happens when things don't go as planned is that a reflection on you as well. So like I think that not putting your value in that and finding a value system outside of being a parent would be the best way forward. And then once you got that figured out, I think you could do pretty good.
Yeah. It
It's still great.
it
Like I
it
still think
almost
it's
but you
wonderful.
make it sound almost too simple. You know what I mean? It's almost like it's
Yeah,
overcomplicated in these other.
I know. And there is situations out there like we have friends that have kids that are like their kids had to go to a facility or something like that and that's just like really awful, right? Um and you hear the situations of the foster kid that burned the house down, but someone's biological kid could do that too. I'm just saying
Yeah.
it could happen.
Yeah.
So maybe not intentionally, but maybe intentionally as well. So I just like everything in life has its risk, and I don't think it's like I think I used to would say like everybody should adopt because there's so many kids in the world that need adoption, and maybe I don't think everybody has the capacity to do that because it's really hard. And so I think that you have to get your like own selfishness in check because being a mother or being a parent is like it's a selfless job. It's a thankless job. So like you gotta make sure that you're okay in your own self in your own skin. And like if the kid is having a hard time because their lids flipped is what we call it, their brain goes to a different place because they're in fight or flight mode, and they say something that's really stupid that they don't mean, like you gotta like be able to be like, that's I can't take that personally because they were in a different headspace, they were scared, like you know
Yeah.
you wouldn't tell an infant like stop crying, because that hurt my feelings, or something, but
Yeah.
you comfort them because they're in that mode,
Yeah.
they need
Or
to be
or
held.
you start crying with them. I mean that's
Yeah, that's
that,
true. We have done that. Yes. We hide with them.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh wow. So uh, I still feel like we have so many stones we did not turn over
Yeah,
and
probably.
talk about. That was so much, and I feel like you just casually were like, oh yeah, we did all these things and breezed through it. But wow, Winter, what a story, especially from. I mean, was there a moment when you wondered, will I ever have children at all?
Yeah, I definitely I don't know. I was probably when I was told, like 2 years in or something when we were trying that we wouldn't have kids, I guess I kind of believed them and I was just like okay with it. I did like, we run in circles where we pray for people to get healed. We believe that Jesus can heal people. And I always like was okay with like, okay, like if I don't have children, I'll be fine. Um, biologically, because I had children,
Mm-hmm.
because I adopted them. But I always wanted my body to work the way it should because I was in a lot of pain, and so I would ask for healing for that to be healed. Um, and I wanted to experience. giving birth and pregnancy and that I did want to experience that. I don't know. I was okay with it though. I did come to grips with that was me. That was who I was going to be. The word barren is so dark, right?
Mm,
But but the Lord has redeemed it, and so
yeah.
I'm super thankful.
So,
And it's not everyone's story, so like I want to be sensitive to that too.
right,
So
right.
yeah,
And I,
yeah,
I know that you have become a resource to so many moms and moms to be out
mhm,
there. If someone hears this episode and is like, man, I need to get in touch with Winter, how
yeah,
can they do that?
yeah. Probably. I'm on Instagram, so if you can come hang out and see us on there. I think I'm the only Winter Hendrickson in the whole world. So I
You'd
don't
be
know what my
surprised.
handle is right
Yeah.
now,
I
but
always
you'll find me.
I always want to spell your name. I mean, until the Panama trip, I think. But
Yeah.
before that, every time I heard of you, always in my head it was Wynter.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. But
Nope.
it's like
It's just like the
yeah,
season.
it's
Yep.
actual winter.
Hmm. Yep. There was a blizzard when I was born. That's how it happened.
Oh goodness. Any
Yeah.
any final words of encouragement to others listening out there as we wrap up winter?
Yeah, I do want to encourage all moms out there, of course, cling tight to Jesus, but also find other moms that love Jesus and that pray and that care for your children, that know their name. Yeah, don't isolate yourself because it's a dark world out there. So cling tight to people that are full of hope, full of life, and find your tribe, find your community, and be a good member of that community. Yeah,
Absolutely. I can't think of a
yeah.
better note to end on. Winter, thank you so much for being a guest on the Motherhood Experience.
Yeah, it was fun. You should have me again. It was awesome.
Thank you so much for joining us on today's episode of the Motherhood Experience podcast. To join our exclusive TME community, head over to themotherhoodexperience.com/learn more. Be sure to follow the Motherhood Experience on Instagram and please leave us a 5-star review wherever you listen to podcasts. If you're watching on YouTube, leave us a comment below and we'll catch you next time.